Hey there, this is Terry Wheat from OnceUponAWheat.com. Thanks so much for joining us. I told you that sometimes I would venture away from travel to talk to you about other things that we may have some skills or knowledge or experience with that might help you. And so today's one of those days, and it's a great time to do it because most people are filling out their forms for open enrollment to get their benefits going for next year through work. And so for a number of years, I was in upper level human resources management. And so I have a lot of experience with this and I'm passionate about it. I have some experience within my own family with it. I've seen it a number of times through work and through people I know. And I think it is a serious issue. I think that it is a mistake that most people make through their work. They never think about it. It is something that probably wouldn't occur to you if you hadn't had very, very close experience with it. And so if it does happen to you, the results can be absolutely catastrophic for you and your family. And I don't say that lightly. So your company offering you insurance benefits is a great thing. They're trying to do a good thing. They're doing it for the right reasons, and getting your medical insurance through work is good usually. So I do think, in my opinion, it is best for everyone if they are able to purchase their life insurance outside of work. I never think that is a good idea to tie to your employment if you have a way to not do that. Now, that won't necessarily be available to everyone. There are a group of people who maybe have very poor health now. Maybe they've had a number of heart attacks and have high blood pressure or are diabetic and can't find coverage, can't find an insurance company to cover them outside of work. And if you're in that position, you're stuck, and that's all you can do unless your health gets better. Maybe you lose weight, and then you can continue to try it. But most of us can find coverage outside of work. A lot of people stick with their company insurance because they say, well, it's really, really cheap. And it is cheap usually through your insurance or through your company. But if it is not there when you need it, then it's pointless and it's worthless. And really, if you look for term life insurance coverage outside of work, term life is generally pretty cheap too, even if you buy it outside. And there is never a better time to do it than now, because you are never going to be younger than you are today. And generally, our health doesn't get better as we age. And so the cheapest time to do it is usually now. So I want to talk to you about why I say that. There are two reasons. One's kind of a little reason, and then there is one major reason, and that's the one that can be catastrophic. So the little reason that you want to purchase your life insurance outside of your company is because a lot of people nowadays do not stick with the same job their entire life, and they may leave employment after 3 or 5 or 10 years. And then when you go to do that, even if your insurance is portable and you take it with you to the next company, you will be re-rated at that time, and now you're suddenly older. And so if you're older, generally your premiums will go up. As I said, you're often not in as good a health as you were 5 or 10 years ago, and so it can be more expensive. That's the little reason. The big reason, and it is so important for you to do, is because no one thinks it will happen to them, that they will be in this situation. You know, a lot of times your company will give you life insurance for free. One time's your policy, maybe that often happens, sometimes more depending on your position and the company. And the free life insurance through work is fine. You still need to additionally have some extra, because for whatever reason, whether you are in a car accident, whether you dove into a pool and broke your neck, whether you have to have extensive surgeries because of an accident you had or a condition you had, or you get hit with cancer, I am here to tell you everyone thinks it will happen to someone else, and I can tell you for sure, it does not matter how young you are. It does not matter that you have no family history. It doesn't matter that you've never been sick. It doesn't matter that you're healthy and you eat healthy. It can happen to anyone. It has happened in my own family, and it has happened to people I know, and it happened to a number of people that I worked with, and I was involved in those situations. And if this doesn't happen to you, chances are it won't directly happen to you. But it is not rare at all for it to happen, and I can tell you, if it does not happen to you, it will happen to someone you know. It will happen to tens of thousands of people this year and every year. So when you have a situation where you need to be off work for a while, whether that is for chemotherapy and radiation, for cancer, or you're just too sick to work, or you've had surgeries and then you have to have more surgeries on top of that and you haven't recovered, and you're just not well enough to return to work, you will get, if you are eligible, if you've been there at least a year, and if you and your company qualify for the other requirements for FMLA, which is the Family Medical Leave Act, then you will get up to 12 weeks. And that might sound like a lot if you're healthy and well, but I can tell you that does not last long. That's 3 months, and it does not last long if you are sick, because that takes away from the doctor's appointments you have leading up to either the sickness or the surgeries or whatever those events are. It covers the time that you were off, follow-ups, all of that is eaten up very, very quickly, particularly if you are seriously ill. So it doesn't go far. And at the end of this, and you may not realize this, you probably think that it wouldn't happen to you, but nearly every company is set up in their policies and in their practices that they will terminate you at the end of the FMLA leave. Now, you may have short-term disability or long-term disability, and that can cover part of your pay, but you can still be terminated. Those are not job protecting like the FMLA is. And so what happens at that point is, and everyone thinks, oh, my company loves me, we get along great, I've always been a great employee for them, I'm the only one who knows how to do this, or I'm the only one who works in that department, or, I'm irreplaceable, they can't live without me. Everyone thinks that, and even companies may think that. I had employees who had to take off sick from work, and before they were sick, our company would have said, we love them, we can't live without them, we need them. And those things are true, but if you go past the 12 weeks, whether your company wants to or not, and usually they do not want to, they're not trying to do it to harm you, but they are set up to where they will terminate you because they have to protect themselves, because otherwise they leave themselves wide open to huge liability, lawsuits, costly lawsuits. They cannot put themselves in a position, it's not feasible, you can't do it as a business, where you are picking and choosing. And so you can't say, well, we'll give this one a couple extra months because we think they'll be ready and better to come back to work at that time, and they should be well, and they're a really good employee, and so we're going to do it for them. And this one, they're not that great an employee, we wouldn't mind getting rid of them, or their illness isn't nearly as bad, or we question their reasons they're wanting to take off, we're not even sure it's legitimate. You can't pick and choose, because that is a bad situation for companies, and that puts them in an extremely vulnerable situation. So whether you think they will or not, trust me, I have been the human resources person, and I didn't want to do it, the company didn't want to do it, but you're just in the position where you have to protect yourself, and you have to do that. And so what happens when someone is terminated at the end of the short 12 weeks of FMLA is that you have up to 60 days to choose whether you want COBRA continuation coverage or not for your insurance policies. And if you think your insurance is expensive when you're working, it will blow you away to see how much the full premiums truly are without their help. Companies generally pay between 80 to 85 to 90, sometimes more, of the premium for you. And the part that you're paying that you think is high, that part is only the 10% more or less that is left over after they pay the nearly 90%. And so once you're terminated and once they terminate you as an employee and you take those over, you're paying the whole 100% of that premium, and you will be amazed at how high those are. And with your life insurance, at that point, it can re-rate you. And so it can determine now, based on your current situation, what your new premiums should be. So they can re-rate it because you're no longer covered under the term that they signed you under. They signed you as a working employee in a healthier position, younger, and suddenly now you're likely sick, could be terminally ill, and so I can tell you they will make those rates so high that you will not be able to afford that. And sometimes they may not want you to be able to afford that because they may not want to cover someone who is terminally ill. So at that point, if you couldn't afford to pay for those premiums, then your policy would lapse and terminate, and suddenly it doesn't matter how many years you paid toward that life insurance policy, it doesn't matter how great of an employee you are, suddenly you are without life insurance. And the whole point of life insurance is to have it when you need it. You never need it more than when you're off and when you're sick, potentially looking at the end of your life. And what's the point of having life insurance if it's not going to be there when you need it? So you do not want to have that tied to your employment. You want to have it totally separate to where your premiums in your policy stay the same. You get locked in. You never let it lapse. It doesn't matter if you're working or not. Your policy is completely separate. And so I plead with you to please buy that separately. Do not turn away your company's life insurance until you have that policy in effect, especially if you are sick. If you're healthy, and especially if you're young, then you are going to be able to find someone to cover you, and it's going to be cheap. And but if you have been very ill, if you've had heart attacks or cancer or have many health conditions wrong with you now, then it may be questionable about whether you get coverage, and it may, affect your premiums, and you'll have to take a look at it then. But if they're, get that set up and in place to where you have it, and if you don't have time to get it done before this year's open enrollment, then go ahead and get the things in place. Go ahead and take advantage of your work life insurance to cover you for the year while you purchase some externally, and then by the time open enrollment runs around next year, then you will have it in place and you can breathe easily that whether that lightning strikes you or not, your family will be covered, because no family should have to go through worrying about paying bills and how they are going to live, how are they going to support themselves once you are gone, or they can see that that is something that's probably coming down the road. They're going to have one less paycheck. They have to take care of these kids, and they have to pay for the funeral arrangements, and all while they're trying to grieve. That's not fair. That's a horrible situation, and you want to prevent that. No one deserves that, and I am trying to help you to prevent that. So please take my warning. Please take heed to what I'm saying, because most people do not, and it is so important. It will strike so many people. If it doesn't happen to you, it will happen to someone you know. So protect yourself, protect your family. If you are going to buy life insurance, do it the right way. Make sure it counts. Make sure it's there when you need it. So I hope this video was helpful to you. I want to spread the word. I want to help people, and I want everyone to be covered. I don't want you to have to go through that. So like the video if you thought that it was helpful. If you'd like to share it, I know it would be helpful for your family and friends. There is someone you know that this information is going to help. So if you want to share it, you're able to do that to social media. And we'd love to have you come check out our travel blog. That's where I put all of our articles on our travel, and I try to make them all helpful and as value added as I can do. And we'd love to have you join us on social media. We are available on Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest, as well as YouTube. So check those out and follow us there. So thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you soon.